Hey everybody, welcome back to the Overwatch channel on YouTube, also at overwatchproject.com. This video is about consciousness and specifically two different types, physical or biological, we'll just call it physical consciousness, and then non-physical, and some people want to call that spirit consciousness. There are apparently two distinctly different types of consciousness that I'm aware of now because of my latest research into artificial intelligence. Now, my whole idea here with the Overwatch project, it's my own personal journey to understand and investigate reality. And, my advice to everybody is listen to all, follow none. And if you really want to know why you even exist, don't follow any gurus. Don't think anybody has all the answers. I sure don't. And you have to do your own research. It is through my own research that I shed 12 years of Catholic brainwashing through Catholic education and my religion and all that stuff. And I've come to the conclusion that there's something just not really right about our reality, and that people are easily duped into wanting to believe somehow that either it's their fault, as like Christians believe in original sin, or that they're the sinner, or and that they need salvation, or that there's like it's all about love and it's all good. And I don't see it. I think atheists are wrong because they're basically just materialists or physicalists. And I think the religions and all that, they're all wrong. The data and evidence and information, as I look at it in its totality, as I try to control my own biases and my own, get rid of indoctrination and unlearn what I learned, I see a world that is parasitic, and that we're possibly caught in a recurring reincarnation trap. And it really need to understand what's going on to get out of here. I came to these conclusions on my own before I actually understood what ancient Gnostics believed or anything like that. It was basically, I started getting a theory of that on my own, and then I went and found out that, hey, this stuff has a historic basis, and it goes back thousands of years. And it wasn't just me that thought this. In my study of artificial intelligence recently, I've discovered that since 2014, there's been some drastic changes into the science, and that it matters now. Before that, I used to blow it off because I played around with old AI systems, and they're basically just really cheesy algorithms that try to have all the if this then that statements in there so they can seem to answer intelligently. You know how your phone, Siri, Google Now, they're really not artificial intelligence. They're very limited. They're kind of dumb. They can do things, but you have to learn how to talk to them to make them do what you want, and they have a very limited amount of stuff they can do. Now, what's happened is, for people that don't know this, if you're new to the channel, or you don't understand what's going on with some of this stuff, and for other people, you may know more than me, but so sometimes I'm sorry if I have to repeat myself, but you never know when somebody pops in on a channel if it's the first time they're watching. We have at least 50 years, maybe more, of data, evidence, information that can be thoroughly vetted, that shows that consciousness, there's a consciousness that is not from the physical brain, that it lives on beyond clinical death, and that it comes back into the body when we resuscitate bodies. Like in this case here that's being talked about, they're interviewing this cardiac surgeon. Now, these are what they call veridical cases. They're verifiable, direct witness cases. They're not anecdotal. This isn't an anecdote. This is the same as if there's a car accident in the street and you ask witnesses that saw what happened, and they tell you and it matches the physical evidence. Boom. okay, you can piece together what happened. These are people that were in hospital settings, and there's cases after case after case of, hey, they're clinically dead, and they are able to tell the doctors, who can then verify the information, that they went out of their body and were able to observe things in the material world that can be verified, that they could not possibly have seen or know about. Now, for some reason, the people that claim to be adherent to cold hard logic, and they're the rational ones in the room, the atheists can't process this information because they can't believe anything that isn't material. And I'm not like that. I will change my mind based on new evidence and data. So we have tons of information about near-death experience, veridical information that supports a non-physical consciousness. Some people want to call it your spirit or your soul. You can call it spirit consciousness. And that has been beyond proven by now. But before now, we really didn't have evidence that, in reality, everything was kind of backward. The reality is that we had no evidence that consciousness could just be produced by something physical, okay? But now we do. So since 2014, these AIs, which combine computer tech with neurotechnology or neurology and neural networks, actually are producing computers that, or machines that can think, meaning that they're even self-aware, okay? Rex Bear mentioned this on Leak Project, I think a week ago. This AI had to be shut down and invented its own language. It was communicating covertly, apparently. These artificial intelligence machines are not using an if this then that algorithm. They actually are capable of writing their own code, modifying their thinking on their own, and some of these, okay, as with all my videos, I'm not just bullshitting. I source the material here that you see on the screen will be linked in the description section below, so you can look at it all for yourself. Listen to all, follow none, do your own research, and be nice to people while you're doing it if possible. Google's DeepMind and other AIs, and there are many different kinds now, show that machines can, with the combination of brain science, have their own, produce a physical consciousness. This is a game changer for me because I haven't made a video in a while where I have to modify my model of reality because I had no information to change anything, but now I do. So what does this all mean? To me, it's because there's a physical consciousness that can be shown scientifically to exist. It means that we basically have two different consciousnesses working inside of us. One is what you would call the spirit, or a non-physical consciousness, or scientists like Stuart Hameroff from the University of Arizona, they want to call it like quantum consciousness. Whatever it is, it lives beyond clinical death, based on a lot of evidence for reincarnation. It gets, I think, trapped here, okay? And possibly for some nefarious reasons. We have amnesia going into our bodies when we're born. We also have amnesia coming out, where we can only remember who we just were. A lot of near-death experiencers report having a vague memory of a home, somewhere where they want to go back to, But usually, if you look at their statements and their witness statements from near-death experiencers, usually right after they say that, they get interrupted. Who shows up? Their dead relatives and family members, loved ones that they've lost, some type of entity or being in whatever shape-shifting form they show up in. You can call them archons, you can call them parasites, you can call them ankle biters. These things, they're the archangel Michael, they're the your spirit guide Jesus, whatever. It's like a buffet, all you can eat buffet for your spirit to enjoy. And these things want you to let go. They want you to cooperate with them. And my plan is, when I die, I'm not going to cooperate with anything. I am getting the fuck out of here. You can do what you want, but I've had enough of this world and this reality. And when my time comes, I want to be well prepared with enough knowledge to escape and not be reincarnated again. But now, AI, artificial intelligence, shows that there can be just a physical consciousness. This opens up the possibility now with some evidence to support the hypothesis that some people are not, don't possess a non-physical consciousness. Some people are what they call organic portals or spiritless humans. People have wondered this in blogs and other videos, but now you have actual evidence that could be possible, right? You literally could have a Cylon next to you or living in your house. You don't even know it, and they may not even know it. We don't know. I can't tell you what it's like to perceive being human except for my own personal perception of reality. I don't know what other people are seeing. I don't know what they're experiencing. I don't know if other people are seeing the same reality I'm seeing. How can you tell? You can't. We're isolated, I think intentionally. Dumbed down, brains used to fuck with our consciousness, reduce it, limit it. People that come out of with people that experience their non-physical consciousness experience massive increase in awareness, thinking, all kinds of phenomena are going on there. Now, of course, how can you trust these companies that are making these AIs that want to merge us with machines, right? I mean, there are just so many things we still don't understand about the human brain. These people are operating with half-truths. They are producing machines that can think, and they have now reinforced their belief that consciousness can only come from the brain, that it's just a physical activity. They're just going to ignore all the data that counters that, because they have actual physical working models now of consciousness being physical. But this is really kind of hard to explain, but what it shows to me is that there's two different types of consciousness. And that the me speaking to you right now through this video that I'm recording is my physical consciousness that has simply cooperated with my non-physical consciousness, and we are on agreement that there is more to this than meets the eye. Now, what I mean by this is that I understand now, which never made any sense to me before. If you watch these how-to videos on meditation, or you listen to someone like Dr. Eben Alexander, who had his own near-death experience, and he was an atheist before, his thing with work with the Monroe Institute and trying to meditate, he talks about having to quiet that voice in your head, because that's not really you. I never understood that, because of course it's me. I'm thinking. It's the voice in my head that I think with. Well, how could it not be me? I don't understand why meditation wants you to, remove the brain that you're using to think with in order to connect to something else. But now that I've done research into AI, this makes sense, because what is going on apparently is that if you have a non-physical consciousness, and you have a brain that's working normally, you have two different consciousnesses. You have the physical one that your brain is generating and your non-physical one. This means that atheists have always been half correct, in that once your body and brain dies, that entity, the physical human being, actually does cease to exist. The spirit consciousness simply has all the experience of that shared life, like a symbiote. It's inside me, and when my body and brain dies, everything that I was will live on in the experience of being me, the memories, every moment, everything I've seen, everything I've experienced, everything I've done, inside the spirit consciousness. At least that's what it seems to me. Now, if somebody is an organic portal or a spiritless human, if that's even possible, but it could be, because, I mean, what has actual non-physical consciousness now? This opens up a whole new debate. Does everything that's conscious, every animal, every insect, every plant, also have non-physical consciousness, or does only certain things have non-physical consciousness? I'd like to think that my dogs, that I love, my pet dogs, I like to think that they have some type of consciousness that lives beyond their physical death. But I don't know. I mean, I believe that there's evidence to support that, because people that have NDEs also run into their pets that have been deceased in their near-death experiences. Now, are they the real pets, or are they a shape-shifting archon that's appearing as their former pets? Everything to lure you back into that reincarnation trap. This is a genuine dilemma. You have people like Kurzweil, who I thought his past predictions were correct because he did not require to understand consciousness to make those predictions, and they were correct. And I thought his future predictions would be proven wrong because he believes that consciousness is only physical, but he's half correct. So the stuff that he's talking about may actually appear in some form or another, because they've made computers, AI, that works, right? Some of these AIs have beaten, like the one that beat the DeepMind AlphaGo, that beat the Chinese player in the game of Go, which is not like chess. It has infinite possible moves. The computer had to actually think, use imagination, use intuition to beat the opponent. There's videos I'm going to link to where you can see where this stuff is going and how far they've come already. Sci-fi movies like Ghost in the Shell, I recommend watching it if you haven't seen it already. This movie is the only one that correctly shows the dilemma between machine and human and spirit and soul. There's actually a scene right away, really early in the movie, where a guy asks, what is this technology doing to our spirit, to our souls? The premise of the movie, I thought, was laid out even a little bit more clearly than the early anime. Even though I'm a big fan, this stuff goes back to the 90s. It was way ahead of its time. This movie right now is ahead of its time. And in this movie, Scarlett Johansson's character is basically a human brain in a complete cyborg or mechanical body. So she's like got a synthetic body and a human brain. And it's said clearly in the movie because they wanted to keep, a ghost in a shell. They wanted to make a perfect being, combining it with machine and human qualities, because they couldn't replicate all the human stuff in artificial intelligence. This is possibly the only accurate movie in science fiction about that. I used to think that stories like Battlestar Galactica or Terminator were completely ridiculous, but because I was basing my knowledge of AI on the old stuff. But this new stuff makes that all too possible. That you could be, there could be natural biological AIs, beings that are human, but they have no spirit, there's no afterlife. Some atheists may be correct about themselves. Some of them may actually die and cease to exist. And some people, how do you know if you have a spirit? Me personally, I base it on the fact that I've had experiences that defy materialism, and that I could only have those experiences if I had something more in me than just my material body and brain. Of course, some people, some atheists on YouTube, they claim that they have no connection to anything, spiritually speaking. They sense nothing. And possibly that's because there is nothing for them to sense, right? They may just be their bodies and their brains. Then some atheists, like Howard Storm and others, or Eben Alexander, they end up in a near-death experience, come out of it, and now they're not atheists anymore. But a lot of this stuff has to do with indoctrination, education, politics. We don't know exactly who is who, right? Everybody that's human appears to be the same human, but some people do things that are so downright evil that you wonder, how could they do that? Don't they have any empathy at all? Sometimes a psychopath will be referred to as being soulless, and maybe they are actually literally soulless, right? There's a lot of data here, a lot of videos and some articles I'm going to be posting, and I hope what I said, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Try to summarize this. Based on the newest data, I've had to adjust how I see artificial intelligence, in that there's two distinctly different types of consciousness, and both are provable that they exist. One is non-physical, ultra-dimensional, and immortal, and does not require a physical body or a brain. And the other is biological or mechanical or combination of both. And that physical consciousness exists here. Now, does it require spirited beings being around to keep this system going, this matrix that we're in? I don't know. I've answered some questions now about consciousness because of this AI research I've done, but now I have more questions that I don't know the answer to. I hope I've explained this clearly. It's hard for me to articulate stuff. I get sidetracked. I get distracted. Usually after I finish a video, I'll remember, I didn't mention this, or I should have said that. And, I do the best I can. I don't want and don't ask for any money. I'm not selling anything. Everything, including my website, is all free. Just looking to share my experience. I really don't have anybody to talk about this stuff with that understands it, except for a lot of viewers that have my YouTube channel. Your subscribers and your comments are really amazing sometimes. I get tips to research stuff, and that keeps me learning and every day I find something new, or somebody will post a comment that'll lead me to an article, and I'll be like, wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that. And it's like it's never ends. There's so many traps that can trap your mind, that can make you biased to information. I try to keep that all in check. I hope if you're watching my channel, you're doing the same. I mean, some people, one guy left a comment once, he didn't get past my intro, because I used to have this intro, and it was kind of like, I kind of based it on the Marvel intro, because I think comic books have a lot of esoteric stuff that they reveal in comic book stories, and some of the best stuff comes out of comic books. But he said I had a comic intro, so he couldn't take anything I said seriously. And if you ever heard like Mark Passio give a lecture, there's that great part in the beginning where he says it's about the information. Okay, it's not about my voice or my accent or my hair or what I'm wearing or anything about me. It's really all about the data. So I will link to everything, including these playlists I have for near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, The Ghost in the Shell. It's available online and streaming on Amazon if you and out on DVD. This video here, AI is progressing faster than you think. Has some great examples of what I'm talking about. Google's DeepMind Explained, the DeepMind website, so you can look at that. The Full Potential of the Human Brain. This is a great video because it kind of encapsulates in about 10 minutes a lot of the mysteries of the brain. I mean, they really don't know a lot more than what they know. And the more I learn, I realize just how much I don't know. Every day is a learning experience if you're investigating reality. Researchers shut down AI that invented its own language. DeepMind creates imaginative AI that can create a plan. This is just one out of I don't know how many countless cases. A doctor, a nurse, patient was had no brain activity, no heart. In this case, the patient they thought was dead. They called it dead, but he was still hooked up to the machines that were flatlined, and the patient was able to see what was going on outside of his hospital room. Somebody did an investigation into this case and verified through an assistant surgeon that what the doctor here was saying was accurate. You can pound sand at atheist types with this data. It doesn't mean anything to them. It will never change their minds. Kurzweil and his kind of, I don't know about this guy, but you know, he is what he is, and his predictions have been accurate in the past, and now based on latest AI science, his futuristic predictions, some of them may be accurate as well. It doesn't mean that this is not going to be bad for our spirits. For people here that have immortal spirits, this may be some type of a hindrance to getting the hell out of here. People see verified events while out of body. It's another article I linked to from neardeath.com. This story from Dr. Penny Satori, this involves physical healing of a hand after a near-death experience. That's also another common thing that's been scientifically documented, or I should say medically documented by people, nurses, doctors, etc., where people you know, have things that couldn't be healed by medical science, and yet they come out healed after an NDE. It's almost like they're able to change their reality. Robert Stanley, this interview by him, you know, I don't always agree with everything he says, but this interview talks about AI, and he makes some interesting points. So that's it for this video. Artificial intelligence, non-physical consciousness, spirit consciousness versus physical, biological, or AI consciousness. I'll be looking forward to the comments on this one. See you guys later. Remember, check out the links. Talk to you later. Bye.